It is about you. You are the selling point, and the landscape is changing. So be your authentic self because no one wants to go to work being miserable all day. Look at your own resume, look at your own LinkedIn, and look at your impact and what you have provided for that other company. And if you write things in that context, you're going to talk to the next employer.
In my opinion, it's about giving the customer what they really want and just blowing their mind once they get it. And that's what I really love to see, honestly.
Get people to do more of home cooking, home cooked meals, healthy meals, so we can all live long and happy.
I'm very proud to be a mom because not for nothing, women are amazing.
Oh my God, the sacrifice. And how we make it look so easy.
I was just telling Joanne before we got on the call, I said, I had to run from my daughter's school. They had an Easter egg hunt. I said, all right, Mom, I gotta go to work. But, you know, just as moms, we make it happen, you know, supernatural abilities. We are the example for them, you know, and I know that with them being a better version of us.
You have to try. You never know how creative you are until you try. Because I didn't think I was creative. I found my creative side during a horrible time in my life.
I'm on mute. Hello. Welcome. It is Thursday. It is happy Thursday. It is our Juneteenth Lunch and Learn. Welcome. And we are very excited to have you on today. As a lot of y'all may know, I'm in Georgia. We are safe, but there is the impending storm coming our way. School has been canceled. Kids are home. So if you see them running, I'm just prefacing, just let y'all know off the rip. But hello, everyone. My name is Athenia Rodney, CEO and founder of Juneteenth NYC. And we are welcoming you in on today's Lunch and Learn. We have a great, very near and dear person to my heart who we are looking to join us today, Miss Pamela Andrews. She is a trauma therapist and coach with over 10 years of experience. And her experience goes well beyond just the space of her physical experience, but also her own personal journey where she has experienced complex traumas. And she is very passionate about helping others heal and grow because of the experiences that she has endured. And we'll talk a little bit about what that is. She'll discuss how trauma can tear families apart. I've seen it in multiple different spaces, especially when people don't want to talk about what their challenges are, or talk about how they are experiencing in their space, going through that challenge together. So with all of that said, we look forward to having Pamela talk to us about her insights on healing, practical tools that she's used, and how she can empower you and your family to move forward. So let's welcome Pamela Andrews to the stage.
Hi.
Hello. How you doing, Pamela? How's everything going?
Going well. I'm doing well. It is Thursday.
It is Thursday. It is, in addition to the storm, I always say Thursday is the calm before the storm because I feel like the weekend is just always so all over the place as well.
Yes.
But to start, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a licensed clinical social worker, born and raised from Brooklyn. And one thing about me, I would say a fun fact, I love popcorn. And so all my clients, when I'm in clinical sessions, I'll be like, bring your own popcorn because we're going to have popcorn in these sessions. And so I always have a bowl of popcorn with me. And so I've been working in the area of trauma for a long time. I've worked in different sectors from child welfare, juvenile justice, housing, substance abuse. Typical social worker that works in various different sections. So that's a little bit about me. And on top of that, my mom and wife.
Awesome. So as life would have it, right? Whenever we go in, I always say whenever we are focused on a topic or it seems to be very prevalent in our lives, and we work best, I feel, out of our trauma. helping. That's where our purpose comes from. So can you share a little bit about your own personal experience with your own complex trauma and how it has shaped the work that you are doing now as a therapist?
Yeah. So I come from a lot of trauma, like you mentioned. I grew up in a home with domestic violence, where there was substance abuse, and I experienced my own sexual abuse as a child. And when when those things are happening to you, right? You're like you feel like the world is crashing in on you. And as I got older, some parts of my life were blacked out. I could not remember certain parts of my life. And so I thought about, like, as I got older, I said, so what can I do, like, to help girls in my situation, right? Coming from East New York, Brooklyn, there's always some trauma happening, right, in families. And so what can I do, right? I never had ACS involvement or any of those things, but there was nights that I would ask, like, can somebody come get me? Can somebody come help me? And it was just not happening for me. But it all worked together, right? It ended up working together because it then became a passion for me. One, it started with helping young girls, which is where I started my organization, Seeds to Flowers, which really works with young girls who have complex trauma. But then it also kind of like sprouted out to different things. Then I end up starting my private practice, which really works with children, but works with families. Because my biggest thing was that I didn't want anything to happen to my parents. I just wanted it to be fixed. That's all I wanted, right? Because there wasn't always bad times. There were good times too. And so I found myself in different jobs that I had. I always was in jobs that worked with families. And so even having my own businesses, I'm also a senior director for Safe Horizon for this new initiative, Safe Way Forward, where we are really working to help families who experience domestic violence, right? And so it's giving the person who caused harm the services they need, the survivor the services, and the children. And so for me, it's just a passion of mine. Let's support families. We don't need to tear families apart, right? Let's support them to help them move forward. Children don't want their fathers out of the home. Mothers don't want the father. Their support system. They just want the violence to stop. And so that's where all this stuff stemmed from me, that I don't want to tear families apart. I want to repair families.
I love that. I feel like we need two snaps and a shake for that one. I don't want to tear families apart. I want to repair them. That is so important because I feel like there's so many spaces where people don't understand that, and even the parents don't understand that while they're going through the situation. Because the whole idea, and I know that the different organizations have been retransformed to kind of hit home to that. It's like, we don't want to separate the families, but we want to give you space so that you can heal yourself from whatever the trauma is that you are going through, so that you can be whole for your family. So I do think that is very important of what you shared. I am curious to know what are some things that you've seen as common traumas. And I know you talked a little bit about some, like domestic violence and sexual abuse. Are there any others that you would say have been common traumas that affect or impact families?
Definitely substance abuse. That's and it's also PTSD. Like, some people have their own traumas and they get in these relationships, right? And they connect with people, they have children, but they haven't healed. And so they get in these relationships, and so then they put that trauma on their children, and it becomes a generational thing. And then we get generational trauma, right? And so that was another aspect. I was like, it has to stop. Right? Like, just because your parent experienced that doesn't mean you have to experience it and your children have to experience it, right? We want the buck to stop here. And so the main thing I see is a lot of people have a lot of trauma. They get together as a couple and then they're like spewing that trauma on their children. And then the children have trauma, and it's all that, it just keeps going all the way down to the great, great, great grandbabies.
Yeah, I like to say we each come to a relationship with our own bag of luggage. And when we get married, we trying to put this luggage into one package, and that luggage is overflowing. And like you said, it could be traumas, it could be negative things that are happening within our past that we have to deal with. So talk to us a little bit about just that. Like, how are you helping families to deal with this? How are you helping families to go back and reach into their past and uncover things so that they can move forward in a powerful way?
Yeah, so really through therapy, like at Seeds to Flowers, we started our new Flourish program. And so the Flourish program really works with the students, but we also work with the parents too. So we partner with schools, and usually in East New York, Brownsville, we partner with those schools so that the parent could get services too. I love to tell people, like, we can do 50 million after school programs, and we could do 50 million things for children in school, but those kids still have to go home. They still have to go home to violence. They still have to go home to not feeling heard or not eating. Some of our students don't even eat, right? They're not going home to those things. So all we're doing is really a Band-Aid. And so how can we actually heal the families, right? And so we have to bring the parents in, right? And so we meet with the parents. We ask them, what do you need, right? If you woke up tomorrow and it was a perfect world, what would that look like for you, right? And they'll go, I'll have an apartment that doesn't have 50 million roaches in it. My children will be able to sleep. My children will be able to go to good schools. This is what I want. My partner will be more involved. My partner and I will stop fighting, like things, they say all kind of things. And so that's our job, to go in and support the parent. We do case management, but we also do clinical services. So yeah, I'm hearing everything you're saying. That sounds like a lot. Right? It sounds like a lot. And it's just not moms, it's dads too. There's single dads, right? We had a dad whose mom is in a coma. He's like, I don't know what to do. Not his mom, but the child's mom. He's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like the child's acting out in school. Of course they acted out in school. The mom's in a coma, right? And so giving support to the dad. What can we do clinically? Can we give the child services? So we really believe in healing the whole person holistically, right? We want to make sure that the parent is getting what they need case management wise, but they're getting what they need clinically too. And we make sure it's all trauma informed. We have to recognize that they're coming to us with some trauma. And so that's how we kind of do those services.
Got it. So talk to us a little bit about the different services at the top. And hello, Aretha Taylor from Jamaica. Welcome. She's saying hi. Can you talk to us a little bit about, because, especially in the clinical world, I feel like everything is a acronym, a letter form or something like that. So what is CBT? What is EMDR? And what is ERP? What are those?
So CBT is cognitive behavior therapy. And ERP, which most therapists use. Most therapists use CBT. ERP is exposure response prevention. And so I use that with a lot of my clients who have OCD, because I do specialize in working with people who have OCD. And so a lot of people have it and they never even knew it. But I think the word is getting out a little bit more around that. And then you have EMDR, which is the eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And that is really used for trauma in itself. And so I actually did it myself, right? I got trained in it, but I did it myself because of my complex trauma. And what it did, EMDR, just a small snippet of it, it kind of, EMDR kind of unblocks the part of the brain that is hiding the trauma that you experience, right? And so I had so many blackouts in my life. If you ask me certain periods of times, I'm like, I don't remember. And I have cousins saying, remember when we did this? And I'm like, I don't remember. Like, I don't remember it. And I was like, okay, I need to go back to therapy for these things. And I went back and it was able to unlock like a lot of things that were missing from my life. And I was no longer triggered by certain things. And so the thing about trauma is just like a cat and a mouse, right? A mouse, it sees a cat, it runs, right? But even if a mouse senses a cat and the cat is not around, a mouse still runs. And that's the same thing that happens with trauma. And so in my trauma, I would get triggered and my husband would be like, what's wrong with you? I'd be like, and I'm like, I don't know, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going back to therapy for these things. And so I'm no longer triggered by certain things anymore because I went through this whole EMDR process with my own therapist, because I have a therapist.
Yeah, and I do same and just being, I think, more transparent and sharing that we have therapists, like getting family therapists. Like I have a therapist for my husband. I'm trying to get one for my kids. Like we need people that we're have a safe place to be able to have conversations with, so that we know that the buck stops there. Like it's not going to be like me having this conversation. It's not going to end up back at my mother, my aunt, and my cousin, and they're going to be looking at me sideways like, word, that's how you really think about me? Like, yeah, we do need the space to really just be transparent and fully be able to express ourselves. Because what we do, like you said, we're holding it in, and there's so many things that we're like, oh, and the other thing is, like you said, everybody saw the same situation a different way, like because of our trauma, like we saw it through this particular lens. And so we are need to be actively in a space of renewing our spirit, renewing our minds, I think. And so I'm glad to hear. I mean, I've always heard these terminologies in different ways, but never really knew what they were. And you talked about the CBT. Can you talk about, you talked about the ERP and like kind of what that looks like, but can you talk about the CBT and what that looks like in reality?
Yeah, so the CBT is really shifting the way you think, right? And it's also connecting behaviors, your actions, right? It's connecting behavior, actions, your triggers. Like it's all like a triangle. And your behaviors, actions, feelings. Oh my goodness, I almost got that wrong. And so you're connecting all of those together, right? And then you're saying like, I'm doing this because I'm triggered by this. So I'm triggered. And so because I'm triggered, this is my behavior, right? And this is my behavior. So now here are my feelings. And then here are my feelings. And it just keeps going like a triangle. And it just doesn't stop. And so a lot of therapists use CBT to shift how we think about certain things. Right. And so it's like if you're like, oh, it could be you could use CBT to use motivation to exercise and do anything, right? You have to shift the way you think, right? And so you have to shift the way you think about food. So if you're like, oh, like me, like popcorn, I really probably need some help around it. Maybe that's what my therapist can help you with next. It's just like, right, if you can eat popcorn, there's nothing wrong with it. But why are you eating it on a consistent basis? Are you eating it because you're triggered, Pam, or are you eating because you just like it? Right. And so if you're overeating because you're triggered all the time, or you're an emotional eater, then you'll want to use CBT to kind of connect. Like, why am I eating emotionally? And so that's why CBT is a great model. A lot of therapists use it, and they find it helpful.
It's funny because when you talked about earlier on about the popcorn, that's what went off in my head. I was like, I wonder what that's tied to for her. Is that like a coping mechanism? So that's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm not trained in that, but my mind immediately went to, I wonder if that's a coping mechanism for you.
I have no idea.
And one of the things I was just writing down, I was like, one of the things that I like to share with people is that when things are hysterical, they're usually historical. So like if you get hysterical about something, or you find yourself getting upset or frustrated, and you're like, and somebody's like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you getting so uptight? And you like, I don't even know. That's something you need to talk about with your therapist, because that may be something that is deeply rooted in you. And I found in so many conversations, I had a conversation with my therapist yesterday, and as I'm just talking through the process, I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's why I am the way I am. Well, maybe that's why, even my involvement with my kids at school and why I care so much about education is based in trauma for me, because it was a traumatic experience growing up that I had with another PTA parent, and she was very dismissive to me as a child. And I always said, I want to be in that role so that I can take care, not just my child, but other children, and be a voice for them, because in that space, I didn't have a voice. I didn't have somebody to be a voice for me. My mother wasn't able to do that. She was going through her own trauma at the time. And so just being able to have that, we don't know where people are, and just being able to put that in space. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
For those of our viewers who are listening, to take stock of how you tap into yourself and understand a little bit more about what's going on for you and what might be a challenge. So talk to us about how you tailor your therapeutic approach to meet unique needs to individuals who are your clients?
Yeah, so when clients come in and I meet with them, I don't give them like this rundown of like all these services I have and all these things. I tell them basically, you tell me about yourself. You tell me why you're here, right? Even for children, because parents love to come in a session and say, "My child needs this, my child needs that," right? And I'm like, "I hear you, mom. I hear you, dad," right? And I'm like, "Well, let me get a couple of minutes with them by myself," and then the kid get in there and the kids be like, "It's my mom and it's my dad."
You crazy? You crazy?
And so I love to hear what my clients have to say. I don't care how young you are. I don't care if because I do child parent psychotherapy as well with children
Nice.
that's from 0 to 5. And so even a baby can tell you how they feel. Right,
Mhm.
even a baby through attachment can tell you how they feel. I've had babies who like they kind of like shiver when their moms hold them because they haven't been around because they've been in child welfare or the foster care system for too long. Babies can even tell you how they feel. So why are we not giving our children a voice in these sessions? So I give them a voice. I say, you tell me why you're here. Tell me what's going on. I get all the toys out. We can play with whatever. We can grab the Avengers. We can do whatever you want to do in this session. Tell me what's going on, right? And so I think it's giving our children a voice, but giving the parents a voice as well,
Yeah.
individually. What's going on with you? I'm not here. You know more about you than I know. I don't
Right.
know anything.
Right.
And so you tell me what's going on, and you tell me what are your top 3 needs, and let's go from there.
Yeah. So Aretha shared why trying to fix the children, but the children are going back into. We do a lot to try to fix the children, but then the children go back into the toxic environment because the work hasn't been done with the parent as well. So to your point, that is unfortunate in how society is operating right now. But through COVID, I feel like things are shifting. And I do want to ask, what has your experiences been since COVID with how you've seen clients or how clients have been engaged, or even the level of clients that you've had since then?
Yeah, I feel like so everyone wants to be virtual. No one wants to come to nobody's office. Nobody wants to be bothered. Like they're like, I'm not coming to your office. I better be able to call you on the phone. And I'm like, so that's one thing. But I think it shifts how parents deal with their children as well, right? A lot of parents decided to start homeschooling. A lot of parents so it's a huge shift that's happening. But some things that we also saw that there was an increase of domestic violence, right? Because people were trapped in the house.
Yeah.
So there was an increase of substance abuse and there was an increase of domestic violence because people had nowhere to go. And so when COVID started to die down a little bit, people were already like, what? Like, we need services because we started getting all these reports from ACS. Like, it was insane how much domestic violence was happening. And so, but what we also realized is that teachers wasn't reporting as much as they used to, right? The reports were now coming from neighbors and from people like that, from hearing the fighting. We used to get more reports from the teachers because the teachers would see things that the children were not talking about.
Right.
And so I feel like it was like, it's almost like a 50-50, like the cases went down, but at the same time, the domestic violence cases kind of went up. And so that's what we saw with COVID. But I did realize that a lot of my clients were like, we're going to be virtual. Like, I don't know where you want me to come to, but I'm not coming. So you better figure this out. Unless they have small babies, then they will come into the office.
Really? So if they had small babies, they would come into the office. I would think that they would want to be home because they're like, oh, look, I can put the baby down right here. I can talk to you, and then I can go back to doing what I got to do.
Well, I think it was more of to get outside. I don't think it even had to do with therapy in itself. Like, all right, the other kids are at school. I got to get outside. I got to do something, right? And so when the clients are coming into the office, right, unless you're doing child parent psychotherapy, you can have a staff watch your baby while you're doing services. So for a parent, it's like, here's my relief. Right? I get a relief. I get a break to cry if I want to, laugh if I want to, stop if I want to. And so more parents with younger children were coming into the office actually to just get a little bit of break.
That totally makes sense. That definitely makes. I mean, like I didn't even think about like substance abuse or even domestic violence like going up during COVID. Like that was not even something that was like top of mind. So thank you for bringing that into space. And I know that you do work in different communities, but can you share if there are specific challenges that you saw more in the Black and Brown communities than any other communities that you've worked with?
So most of the communities I work with are the Black and Brown, because I work predominantly in East New York, Brownsville, Canarsie. And so, I mean, mainly what I saw, right, it was like families were losing their jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
People were losing their jobs, and that was a struggle, especially for a lot of Black and Brown families. It was a struggle, right? Because you had housing payments to make, you had all these things to do, and you could not do it. And because of that, things started to happen. More arguments started to happen. More people like, I'm getting a divorce. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, we started to see all kind of things happening in our communities, and a lot of our girls, I would say, that work in Cecil Flowers, they were on social media more. So they were able to kind of just like, they were seeing like women of color, like just doing all these amazing things. And so a lot of my girls were like, when we finally got back into schools, they were like, I'm going to be an influencer. Everybody was just like, we're not going to do it. And so, I mean, I was like, that's great. And so I was like, but I also know I come from a different generation, but I was like, that is great. But this, that, and third. So what I saw in our communities more than anything was that people were like losing their jobs. Like
Wow.
their foundation, what they had, they were losing it. And they didn't have nowhere to go, right? They
Mm.
didn't have nothing to do. A lot of city employees, like, right, they even, if they didn't take the vaccine, they got laid off. All things were happening to them. And so our families were really affected by COVID. And so because people don't think about like the Black and Brown community, right? How they feel about vaccines, how they feel about those things. They don't take that stuff into account, right? And so instead you just say, you don't do it, we're laying you off.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, but you don't even explore how we feel about it, right? You don't explore the experiments that happened to us already, and you're just gonna say you're doing it all over again. It's
Yeah.
traumatizing us all over again.
Oh, yeah.
So we felt that, and when COVID hit, when it started to die down, and it was like, do these vaccines, a lot of people were getting laid off, even in my own home. I was like, but my husband, he works for the city, and he was like, you have to get it. You don't got no choice. Well,
Yeah.
I told him, you ain't got no choice because you ain't gonna get laid off in here. I was like, right, you don't got no choice. But I was like, how can you put somebody's back against the wall?
Like that. Yeah.
Right. And then just for them to turn around a year later and say, oh, you don't need it, to the workers, right? It was an option for them. And
Right.
so I felt like that aspect of it, the Black and Brown communities, as always, are getting highly affected by these policies and procedures that are created by governments. And that's what's happening a lot of the time that we see.
My gosh, you just hit on something. And it's like, yeah, we are part of systems. And this is also a part of what the systemic process that we keep talking about in the Black community, that a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't exist anymore. And it's like, no, it absolutely still exists. And COVID was a tall tale of that, because you do have mostly Black and Brown people who are working in these blue collar jobs, and that were the ones who had gotten laid off because they didn't have a choice. If they wanted to pay their bills and stay in their home and to be able to take care of their families, they had to do what they had to do against their own personal wishes, against their own personal beliefs. Like, there were so many different things that I saw in that space. And then, to your point, to then say later on, oh, it's not the same. It's like you didn't need to get it. And it's like, oh, and it's like, really? So did y'all go back and pull all of those people who y'all let go back into employment? No, they're still unemployed.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk a little bit more about your nonprofit organization. Can you share, like, what does your nonprofit organization do? Who's your target market? Like, who's your focus of your business?
Yeah, so Seeds to Flowers really birthed in my grandmother's living room. But Seeds to Flowers is a nonprofit that works with, I hate the word at risk, but at risk girls in low income communities. We we try to empower them through education, leadership, and personal development and mental health. It's something that we added on to it. And so our target is just young girls, and it can start from as young as 5 all the way to 18. And I've been doing this for about 15 years. And I did it for free for so long. Now my board of directors is like, all right, you need to you're gonna have to do something else. You can't keep doing it for free. I'm like, why not? Because I love what I do. I've had girls that's come to me that's been in prostitution. I've had girls who are into all kinds of stuff. And now some of my girls have gone on. They just graduated from John Jay. They're going on to be social workers and nurses. They still follow me. I don't know how they found me on social media. They're still my babies. And even though I have my own daughter, I consider all of them like my daughters. And so like our program really goes inside the schools. We partner with the schools. We run leadership girls groups with them. And now we're going to actually be going into the juvenile detention centers, right? Because while we want to be preventative, there are girls that still need support, right? So we're going to be going into the certain ones for the juveniles, for the girls, and running groups with them, meeting with them. Like, right, this doesn't have to be the end all be all for you.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe we could even really connect you with your family. We don't know, right? The point of it is, right, to get you back the support system. And if we can't, we can, but we could still be that support. We can be like the family for you that you need. And so that's where Seeds of Flowers is going. And that's how we did the Flourish program, to help with bringing families and children together.
I love that. So how often do people meet? If I am watching and I have a child in that age range, how do I get involved? And is it based on income? Is it based on particular locations? Like, can you share some of those details?
Yeah, so it's not based on income, but most of the people who come to us have low incomes because we're in the communities where there are low income families. But it's not based on income. If you want to sign up, you can literally go to our website and sign up. Usually principals hire us, and the principals bring us in their schools. And so right now we've been in Brooklyn because Brooklyn is my heart. And so other people, they have asked me to like move to the Bronx. And I was like, wait, hold on, we got to finish with Brooklyn. But I know it can be beneficial for all. So like starting Saturday programs where our children could do like African dance groups and all those things in one. The parents could come in and do support groups for themselves. And so going to the website, you can definitely do it. Our Instagram, you could definitely reach out. My social work interns are on the Instagram, so you could definitely reach out. They will get back to you right like that. And so it's not on income, it's not on anything. It's really on like, are you between the ages of 5 and 18, right? And do you feel like we all have some kind of trauma? So that's why I'm like, it's trauma, like community trauma, any kind of trauma. And so you can just sign up that way. And then, like I said, if you're in the schools that we're in, the principals sign you up anyway. So it doesn't even matter.
So you're mostly operating in schools. You are offering some services on the weekends for families to be able to participate in. If I am a principal, will we just email you and just kind of say, hey, I'm interested in you coming to our school to offer services?
Yep, that's what all the principals have done. They found me and they're like, yeah, can you just come so we can meet? And I'm like, all right, fine. And we tailor it. So some principals may say, we only want leadership group. Okay, that's fine. And some principals may say, we want the whole program. Right. And some principals are like, not just my students, can you also help my teachers? Like, can you do all of it? Like, can you help? I'm like, yes, whatever you need, let's do this. And so because we got to support the teachers because they have to support the students, right? So principals could do it that way as well. They can just reach out via email.
I really love all that you're doing in the community, and especially in Brownsville and East New York, because it is very much needed. Especially with our young people. I mean, even in my personal story, I remember being, at the crossroads and not needing money and not like being offered opportunities to be a madam or prostitute or whatever nice word you want to put around it, to help pay bills in the household or to, do all of those things. And we don't realize you know, the baggage or the story that is being carried on a lot of these young people's minds and hearts, and just their on their will, and how that is carried into their future and then becomes now their trauma that they are battling with, and having to make determinations on if they are going to change or they're going to continue in that space, because that was their way of survival. And So I'm glad that you are in the communities and you are offering these services, and really from a heartfelt space, not from a, oh, I'm just trying to make money. Because a lot of people are also doing that too. We're just going into the schools and into the spaces and just doing it for the money. And I hear you saying you're doing this for the love of seeing us as a community be more empowered to do better for ourselves. So thank you. If nobody ever tells you thank you, I want to publicly thank you for what you are doing, and to give you your flowers, and to be like, you know, you are very much appreciated and thanked. Um, do you have anything else? Like, do you have any programs or anything that you're doing or you have coming up that you want to share with the community?
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing so much. I don't even know what I feel like I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But I launched my own private practice. So that's another thing where I'm still working with children, families, and parents. But I'm accepting all insurance for parents and children to receive services. And I work with people who have OCD, trauma, mainly trauma, but OCD as well. What do we have going on at Seeds of Flowers? We have our gala. We have our first year gala coming up in November. And I'm excited for it. I am excited that it's coming together. And so I was like, all right, a gala, and I'm really so low key. I can be really low key. I don't need to be in the spotlight at all, but I am thankful for my board of directors who have really put it all together. So our gala is coming up November 14th, and it's going to be on the Lower East Side. And so I'm excited about it.
Do we have the information? Can you drop in the chat so we can share with the community how to support, even if it's donations towards the organization, or to be able to attend? I'm sure people would love. I'm always up for a space where I can get all dressed up and look all nice and cute and take pictures, especially for being with the young people. It's like you're doing it for the gram, right? So always a space to be able to enjoy and come out and know that you're doing it for a great cause. So please share if there's a direct link that you would like for people to connect to for that. And that's coming up really soon. So
yes.
Definitely want to be of support. A couple of questions before we head on out. Want to know, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
Juneteenth. For me, in one word, right, it means freedom, right? Freedom to do what I want and be who I am, right? A lot of people always say to me, oh, the glass ceiling. And I'm like, I shattered that. Right? Because I feel like it's this freedom that I have, like as a Black woman. Yes, there's some barriers that's still out there, right? But as a Black woman, I feel like there's so much, you're not going to stop me. Right. I feel like in Juneteenth, I feel like that's what I feel for myself. Like they're not going to stop me. I'm unstoppable because I am, as a Black woman, I can do anything that I want to do. Right. And when I step into a room, I step into the room that way as a powerful Black woman.
Come on now.
So that's what it really means for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It is funny. I'm laughing because we were going over some versions of the title, but the overall theme for us this year coming is resilience. And that's what I just heard you say. And I was just like, all right, that's confirmation. Like that we are definitely going down the right path. Because what you just shared is like, yes, I am. Somebody shared to me last night, it's not about presentation, it's about permanence. It's about us being in the space permanently so that we don't have to go back. And we don't have to go back, like especially where we're going in this space with our elections, and it's like in the feeling of rules being implemented or things being taken away from us, that we're not in a space of going back, we're in a space of permanence.
Yeah, no, I do agree for that. And that's what I mean, I've been through a lot, and so I can't even allow someone to take me backwards. Right? I cannot allow that. And so I have to push through. And then even for my daughter, that she can know, right? It's like we have to infiltrate the systems. Right? We have to step into those boardrooms, right? Where there's predominantly white people. We have to step into those boardrooms. We have to step in those places so that we can have a nay or say on the programs that come into our communities, right?
Yes.
And so for my daughter, I'm like, come on, you can come with me to these events so you can see, right, how we can work and how you as a young Black girl right now can grow up to be a powerful Black woman.
I love that. I love that. So as a follow-up to that, how can our community better support organizations like yours and the work that to heal trauma and strengthen families?
I mean, there is like, you can join board meetings. We have like volunteer setups where people can, you can set up with, where you can come set up and do, but like if we have Saturday program or anything like that, people can join those things. I'm always taking volunteers and definitely board members to come on board for us. And then even volunteering for sometimes for the gala, like when we have them, because those spaces, you need people to come in and do that stuff. And so really being able to like go on websites and just see like what people are offering and jump in, right? You can offer something to the table. All of us offer something. And we all have our own expertise in things. And so take what you have and use it to build up your community.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much again. And this is Pamela's site and the link we dropped in the chat. So we definitely encourage you, please go to the link and donate, even if it's a small amount. Every little bit helps, just to buy some napkins to put on the table. Like that helps. Trust me, we've been in the spaces. We understand all of it. So I am pouring. Let may the flow, may everything overflow for you, in your organization and your business. It has been a pleasure to talk with you and to learn so much about seeds to flowers, and to also learn about your practice. And I didn't know that you had went solo with that and have been doing it on your own. That is a big feat, because a lot of us, especially in our communities, are scared to go out on our own because we feel like we need to be tethered to another organization to be able to get leads and stuff like that. So that is great to know that you have been able to build up. And I'm sure the Seeds to Flowers may even be a funnel into your business for new clients as well. And that you accept insurance. I think I heard you say.
I do accept insurance. I even accept Medicaid. So Medicaid, Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Aetna. And I have low cost sessions. So I also have certain amount of slots for survivors of domestic violence that are free. So I open up 10 slots for domestic violence survivors.
Okay. And is it only Monday through Friday? Do you do weekend sessions as well?
Yeah. So I do Saturday sessions, but only up to 12 o'clock. So I do the Saturday sessions, but I'm there Monday through Saturday.
Got it. I love it. Well, thank you again, Pamela Andrews. Any last words before we head off today?
Thank you for having me. This has been amazing.
Well, it has been amazing to have you and to get to learn more about what you're doing. You were at our back to school event that we had a couple of weeks ago. So we are grateful for your partnership and look forward to continuing to partner in different ways as we move into 2025.
Yes,
so thank you again for that.
Yes, of course.
So I am just going to close us out. We like to close out our sessions by just sharing a little bit about our programming and what we're doing to work to empower our community. Because as Pamela shared, we are trauma-induced, trauma-informed, and we're constantly being triggered by traumas. I mean, even those who heard the news about our Mayor Adams on yesterday. That invoked stuff in me that was very triggering, and I had to sit and I had to write with that, because it was like, you look at these figures, we talk about having a Black person in office, and then we're like, oh my gosh, like we're being targeted in every which way. That's one part, right? We can say we're being targeted, and then the other part is, what are we doing, or what are we putting out in the atmosphere? How are we showing up in spaces? And I'd say what I say in that space is, we are all human and no one is perfect. And we can't put perfection on anyone, regardless of who they are. But what we can do is put expectation and hope that people are going to operate in a space that is safe, and that is in a space that is going to be the benefit for the community overall. So I say that to say, I want to share a little bit about my other business, which is our AR business expansion. And we have been helping to work with a number of business owners as of recently to expand themselves. And what does that mean? It means helping you to create processes, helping you to create protocols, standard operation procedures, understanding what that is, utilizing the tools that are readily available to you, like social media, that are free, helping you to create your 30-day posting for your social media account. Like there are so many different things that we could do so that our message, our word is going out into the world in a better, more informed way. We all have a purpose that has been informed by our traumas, and we have to be able to be out there and to share that to the world. And nobody will know about it if you don't share it. And these are different ways that we talk about how you can utilize our platform to do so. So AR Business Expansion is looking to open up a couple of spots, which are very much in high demand. I think my schedule has been booked to the brim, which is a great thing because I'm helping people and I'm excited about that. That is what I love to do. It is a cutting edge platform that transforms business growth. It helps you to limit client intake processes. It helps you with exclusive opportunities that will grow your business so that you can have more time for yourself. I always say, people are always asking me, how do you do it all? And it's like, because I have processes in place to make things happen. And I encourage and I implore you to do that as well. So scan the QR code that is on the screen if you are interested in having a one-on-one meeting with me. I look forward to talking with you and learning a little bit more about your business and how we might be of support. Next, we are always working on something new here at Juneteenth, and our next event that is coming up is the Pink Carpet Fashion and Talent Show, where we are highlighting and talking about cancer, because we are going into Cancer Month. And one of the places where we don't think very much about, unless it has happened to us, is cancer in our children. Cancer doesn't have a name or a number of who they affect. There are children who are also being heavily affected by cancer as well. So we are doing a fashion show fundraiser to be able to help families who are going through different things and people who have died from cancer. So we are really excited to be in partnership for Pink to Carpet. It will be on October 19th. It will be from 2 to 5, and tickets are only $25. So please go to our website, JuneteenthNY.com, so that you can get your tickets and support the organization. And I think that's all for me. I definitely want you to go to our website. Go to JuneteenthNY.com. It is the place to be. We are updating so much information. We have some really great things in store that are going to be coming online, with things where we're hoping to be able to help you to find more about your lineage, do more history about your heritage here in America, and just to be able to grow in different ways. Follow us on social media. We are JuneteenthNY on Instagram. And let's just continue to grow and celebrate unity, resilience, and progress together as we honor Juneteenth in the heart of New York City. And thank you again to our guest, Pamela Andrews. We really appreciate you once again. Have a great day and happy Thursday and happy weekend, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.